All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, and right now we want to welcome to the set Marshall Hugh of the Marshall Law Band.
What's going on? What's
Yeah.
going on? How y'all
What's
doing?
up, Marshall in the building?
Yo, it feels good to be in the flesh with y'all and getting a chance to interact. This is my first time actually getting a chance to meet you. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for just supporting us and giving us an opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right, so we want to talk to you about a few things. Is one, of course, the protest itself. Two, a night that's been coined maybe by you and other people. It's kind of a different names by different people, but basically the Battle of the Hill, right? And that was the night of June 7th. And then we definitely want to talk about takeaways, and then what you're doing now, what's happening with your music. The music is pumping, concerts are going on, and everything else. But first of all, man, how's it feel? I know you've been in the area before, but as we look back this week, how's it feel to be right here, right by the Western Barricade?
It's a definite mix of emotions. You feel excited, especially to see some of these friends. Joey Weiser, someone I actually went to middle school with Joey. So to see him out here and in the same seat as me right before this is like, wow, this is family, this is community out here. So that's the exciting part. I guess kind of the trauma starts setting in and you start remembering maybe some of the less fond memories that come around, or when you hear a siren you kind of jump a bit. So definitely kind of a head on a swivel situation, but it's still fun, exhilarating, I guess would be the word.
Right. What brought you? Trayvon asked Joey in the last segment, what was the catalyst? What was the catalyst? What brought you out here?
You, Omari. I was sitting in my bed after going to the protest, I think 2 days, and I kind of took 2 days off, and I was sitting in my bed watching your personal Facebook live stream, 8,000 people on it, and you were screaming after getting tear gas, where's the leadership? Where's the leadership? And honestly, I was sitting in my bed, and it felt like, I didn't know you at the time, it felt like a direct call out. And that next day, I called the hospitality, I called the band, and I said, I don't know exactly what it's going to do, but we are going out there to be leaders through music and through our community, and we're bringing the stage. Let's go perform.
Wow.
Right. If I can, one second here, Trey. We have a clip. Let me set this up. So it's funny. It's a true story though, right? And this is one thing that I'll say. So I'm gonna keep it real with everybody, and we're gonna play the video because artists, and especially recording artists, they like to embellish and like to be whatever, but it really is a true story. June 7th, they call it the Battle of the Hill, and it was funky too and you'll hear this audio. This was like the first time they said a specific warning because they couldn't use tear gas, and they said that they were going to use less than lethals, which might be very painful or have. I remember hearing that's the part of what made that night so creepy. But let's go ahead and play the first clip right here. This is the order to disperse right there from right behind us at 11th and Pine. And what we saw that night for the first time is that people, they were like, nah, we're not leaving.
Issuing a public safety order to disperse, and I command all those assembled at 11 and Pine to immediately disperse, which means leave this area. If you do not do so, you may be arrested or subject to other police action. Other police action could include the use of chemical agents or less lethal munitions, which may inflict significant pain or result in serious injury. 11 and Pine to immediately disperse, which means leave this area. If you do not do so, you may be arrested or subject to other police action. Other police action could include the use of chemical agents or less lethal munitions, which may inflict significant pain or result in serious injury. If you remain in the area just described, regardless of your purpose, you will be in violation of city and state law. The following routes of dispersal are available: westbound on Pine or southbound on 11.
Man, you don't realize how many flashbangs were deployed, and just hearing it and not seeing it. We don't have a monitor in front of us, But the point is of that clip is on June 7th, it's like the tone had changed in the sense that, like I said, the police would put out the flashbangs, people would scatter, they get all the way down here to like Nagel or 10th or something like that. But that night, it was like people didn't really move, and when they did move, it was like people were building barricades, everything else was like, man, we're not leaving. And so in the midst of all of this, and I'll set the scene, right behind me right here on 11th and Pine was the police backed up by the National Guard, and then there was SWAT and a Bearcat, and had the less than lethal launchers that was out there, and we was getting hammered. I mean, it was the rubber bullets were coming down the street. People was getting hit. We got hit up. These guys were out there jumping in. Crazy enough, I mean, this is just how it was. People were standing in front of me taking the rubber bullet. So we got to keep the stream up, cut the stream up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it was. But that's here on 11th and Pine. And on 11th and Pike, let me show you what was going on.
They're building another barricade. They're building another barricade out there. Looks like. And this is just surreal because the band is playing and martial law is over there jamming. Like there's a crowd. So at the same time, on one end of the block, there's rubber bullets and flashbangs. On the other end of the block, watch out, Eric. On the other end of the block, there's martial law and the martial law band. That's one end of the block. The other end of the block, there's the National Guard, rubber bullets, pepper spray. This is one city block, guys. One city block. One city block. There's martial law.
Jamming the fuck out.
So this is one of these cases. So if martial law ever tells you, hey, it was going down and the band played on, the Seattle protest house band, the martial law band definitely played on in the midst of it. We got the tapes to prove it. But talk about that night, man.
Surreal, insane. When you say the Bearcat, that's literally what we looked up, and there was a tank and National Guard and the police barreling down, and then there were protesters that sat around our stage to ensure that we felt safe. They just sat down, and then you'd look over in the horizon and you would see this line of burning dumpsters and other people holding the line, and it just incrementally chipping away, and people running back saying, Marshall, they're not going to stop. And I just kept telling them, we're not going to stop either. And around 2 a.m. or something, we just saw the Bearcat turn around and leave, and we outlasted the National Guard and the police that night with that determination that you were talking about. Like, whatever happens, we're not going anywhere.
Right, now I'll throw this over you to Trey, Trey. And another reason why people refer to it as the fight for the Hill or the Battle of the Hill is the next day the Seattle Police Department abandoned their precinct. So this was the last night before they abandoned the precinct.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, when we talk about the details, breaking it down again to the details, you guys, you felt a call and you came out and you showed up. And that to me is what I think is at the center of so many people being here. Before it was like this whole thing, we know that there was some energy shifts. How did y'all deal with that? Because, there was a lot of people in the beginning that came with these pure intentions, right? And they were like, no, we're out here about George Floyd. Now we're out here for Seattle PD. Like, we're going to hold them accountable. And then we saw like this whole thing of like, ooh, it must be cool to be down here in the chop. How did you guys deal with the changing of the energies in the environment?
It was really hard, and it was painful a lot of the times because, especially myself, I was really looking for like leadership or like a clear, like, hey, Marshall, do this. And I think that whole experience, and if you're going to ask me later what I learned, is that you can't wait for someone to tell you what to do. If you are a leader, you need to step up and make a decision if nobody else is. So I myself wasn't as well versed in Seattle protest history as I wish I would have been at the time. I didn't really understand a Occupy Wall Street type situation, even being a realm of possibilities. So when I was just playing show after show after show. I'd go home, go to sleep. You heard Amari's voice. Mine was about the same. So I would just be sleeping as much as I could on the band's couch. We'd wake up and pack up all this gear and go directly down. So I woke up. It was about 3 p.m. and I was getting ready to go down. And my sax player, Marty, called me and said, the police abandoned the precinct. And that just seemed like the most absurd, asinine thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And then so when we came down, they're like, oh, so are we going to play? And then there was like the Proud Boy scare and whatnot. And so I was even in some sense more threatening because now there's no police or entities to protect you. And so we said, yeah, we're playing, we're not going anywhere. And then that's really where the energy and the tone shift, because it went from this fight to this, okay, now we're protecting ourselves from imminent danger of white supremacists, and we're not going to be protected by the police. In fact, they're sending information on their Twitter and whatnot. So we had to step up and make a decision, and they tried to move us out of that intersection over there so we could be a little closer. And my father, if anyone knows Papa Randy, I asked him like, hey, they want us to move. They said there might be like assault rifle. He said, he said, what the hell you come out here for? And he said, get up, he said, get up there on that stage next play. And that's the same thing he said when Dan Gregory got shot, because he knew that this was a time where leadership was needed and to set an example. So we set that example. Look, we're not scared of Proud Boys. We're not scared of the police. We set that example 2 days in a row. From there, that's when like 3 or 4 days worth of this amazing art boom to me was so like powerful and impactful and special, and seeing Black commerce. And we performed one of those days, and then as it grew and other leaders, and we were looking for other people to make decisions, and my voice was like cramping up, I wanted to open up space for other performers and other energies. And when we made that decision, and other leaders made that decision, and people got pushed out, this and that, it created a vacuum. And we performed one other time while that vacuum existed. And from there, we just realized like, we can't sustain being out there with our energy. We need to go bottle this up and make a record. Yeah. And that's when we made 12th and Pine, but it was really difficult to see that.
Yeah.
Right. And now speaking of 12th and Pine, you got, a record out, the shows are going and everything else. What's going on with the music now? Here you are a year later from the Western Barricade. Tell us what's going on with that. And I think we got time for one more question, because I know Trey wants to know what you're doing in community.
Absolutely. Like, for me, the biggest thing was I poured everything, me, my band, our friends. Like, I saw my bandmates jump off the stage and hold line on police, so I seen that they really believed in this, or believed in me enough to follow me and put their lives in danger. So that really resulted in just pouring everything I had out, but not refilling my cup, So I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well. I was probably drinking too much, smoking too much, using other things to cope. And I was not athletic. I wasn't working out like I usually did. And I had to hit like a rock bottom. And I went and just kind of went into my own zone for about a month. I changed my eating habits. I went vegan, and I just recharged myself so that now I have the energy to expend that type of energy. And so that's what we've been focusing on, is getting the music out. We built this parade float with the Fremont Art Council that we call the SS Jelly Bean. And so we've been riding all around Seattle and allowing other artists to be on stage with us, and just getting the word out about not only 12th and Pine, not only about the experience we had here, but what's next and what we're trying to do, which is use music to bridge these gaps and create conversations and safe spaces where we can see Black and brown commerce come in maybe neighborhoods that weren't always welcome to it.
One of the things that I really love, just listening to some of the music on 12th and Pine, great album, by the way,
Thank you.
is that clearly your experience of the chop and everything else being here in the protest movement is so infused in the lyrics, right? And so appreciate you for being, really open, kind of cracking that nut a little bit and pouring yourself out into the music. But, as you grow, as you build, as you, get more and more recognition, maybe even more and more fame, right? How are you staying plugged into community, and how are you allowing that message of why you originally came out here to still permeate in your actions today and stay connected?
I think the biggest thing is I have declared myself as a leader. I have shown with my actions multiple times that I am a leader. And with that comes expectations of transparency and accountability and being challenged and publicly scrutinized. So these are things that I signed up for the minute I accepted Amari's personal challenge of the leadership. Yeah. So that being said, what I'm trying to do is grow each and every day and be open to learning and being corrected by people that also live the work and the actions day to day. So what I'm trying to do is, again, create these community pop-ups all around town. So every other Thursday in South Lake Union, we pull up the Jelly Bean right there. Big boss man captain drives it up. And then we invite Black and brown vendors, speakers, performers to come and take over the South Lake Union block and to say, no, we're not going to change or dull who we are. We're going to bring a little bit of this 12th and Pine directly to you for the next 4 hours, and you can empower us with your dollar. And then, on Fridays, every single Friday at the LTD parking lot, same thing. Boss man pulls up the Jelly Bean. We have a whole parking lot, 400 different people right there in Fremont. We bring that right to the people. And now we've created this safe space. Now, about this safe space, which is really important that I want to say, and it's hard because I have to practice it myself. I personally believe, in my vision for this safe space is to create a place where anyone in the community is welcome, like church, like a Key Arena musical event.
Yeah.
Anyone, even if someone who's talking bad about me on the internet, if they show up to one of these events in these spaces, they are welcome. And we're going to practice diffuse technology, communication, and we're going to practice love, and we're going to lead by example that our enemies are welcome in our spaces, because we are going to prove them to be on the wrong side of history. So that's the challenge to me, to walk in love and to turn the other cheek when people have negative things to say about me or our community and what we're trying to build. But we're building community where Black and brown people can come and be empowered economically and through exposure that we're accumulated through our experience here. And on our own dollar, we built the Jelly Bean ourselves. Black innovation. When venue said, oh, what are you going to do? You can't perform without a venue. We built one. And we allowed other Black people to go on top of it, other brown people to scream and say Black Lives Matter on top of it. So that's what I'm doing for community right now. But I accept the challenge of I can do more, because I'm pushing the energy into myself so I can pour it out to others. So I'm really passionate about this. And I spent the whole year preparing for this moment. And I want all the smoke.
Yeah.
Every single piece of it.
Well, let me say this, man. Kudos to you. I mean, we hear the people out here, clapping it up. And honestly, that's what it takes. Just like I told Joey in the segment beforehand, that when you bring yourself into the solution, you're creating the table, you're creating the solution. People are inspired by that, bro. I mean, straight up, I live it every single day, everywhere I go, super authentically me. And I think that's really what it takes. So kudos to you and your team for pulling that together. I just got to say that, man.
Thank you. Thank you. It means the world coming from y'all, man.
Good stuff, Marshall. And yeah, this is good because we're going to tell people to support your music, which also means we got to stay on top of your community efforts.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I expect y'all
You know what
to.
I'm saying?
I expect y'all to, please.
Yeah, I mean, people be thinking we just stay on top of City Hall. Like, you're now you're a nationally, internationally known recording artist. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're talking about your experiences here on the Hill. You're out there. You're up for all of these awards. You're representing us. So, but it's good, man. Keep these things moving forward.
Absolutely.
Real quick, once you look at that camera straight there, tell people how they can keep up with the Martial Law Band.
You can tap in with the Martial Law Band at Martial Law Band on all social media platforms. You can tap in with our Pulitzer efforts at martiallawband.info or .love. And you can just see us around town. We'll see you every Friday at Fremont Friday. Yeah, .love. A little different. You got to throw some sauce on it. And actually, before I forget, Thursday, that's tomorrow, right here, we're having Forever Safe Spaces. The Jelly Bean will be there. And we have over 20 artists performing. Vermilion, right across the street from Vermilion and Throwback. So please come out tomorrow. Julie C, Kaya, Nas, they're all creating amazing spaces for us to feel safe in performance.
See, I don't even